Rejection can break dreams or make legends. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs faced failures so crushing, most people would have just given up. But they didn't. They pushed through, proving that resilience is often the secret ingredient to greatness. Ever wondered how the people behind iconic brands and life-changing ideas turned their no's into victories? In this video, you'll hear about 7 individuals whose paths to success were filled with closed doors and harsh criticism. Their stories will challenge what you think about failure and inspire you to see obstacles in a whole new way. Stay tuned to meet them all. Walt Disney, a dreamer who refused to quit. Walt Disney, the man behind one of the most magical empires in the world, wasn't always celebrated as a creative genius. In fact, his journey to success was filled with crushing rejections and devastating failures. But what if I told you Disney's path began with a firing? In his early 20s, Walt worked for a newspaper as a cartoonist. His excitement to create? Unmatched. But his editor didn't see it that way. The reason for his dismissal? He was told he lacked imagination and had no original ideas. Imagine being told that your creativity is worthless by someone in power. But Walt didn't let that stop him. He turned to what he loved most: animation. He launched a small company, Laugh-O-Gram Studios, but soon financial troubles followed. The studio went bankrupt, leaving Walt broke and homeless. He was often seen sleeping on benches at train stations, clutching his sketches and his dreams. It seemed like every door was closing, but he kept moving forward. Then came 1928. Walt took his biggest gamble. He created a character he believed in: Mickey Mouse. But even Mickey wasn't an instant hit. Studio after studio rejected him, saying audiences wouldn't connect with a talking mouse. Still, Walt's persistence paid off. One distributor took a chance, and Mickey Mouse debuted in Steamboat Willie, and the world finally began to see Walt's brilliance. But success didn't come quietly. Walt faced more financial troubles, creative disputes, and personal doubts. His dream of building Disneyland, a place where families could make magical memories, was dismissed by investors as a crazy idea. Banks refused to fund it, so Walt mortgaged his house to turn the dream into reality. And in 1955, Disneyland opened its gates. It was an immediate hit, and the rest is history. The man once labeled unoriginal and unimaginative became a global icon, proving that rejection isn't the end. It's just another chapter. So next time you face a setback, remember Walt Disney's story. What if he had given up after being fired? Sometimes, the world's greatest successes come from those who simply refuse to stop dreaming. Steve Jobs, the visionary who was once rejected by his own company. When we think of Steve Jobs, we think of innovation, brilliance, and Apple, the company that changed technology forever. But behind that iconic success lies a story of rejection so shocking it could have ended his career. In 1976, a young Steve Jobs co-founded Apple in a garage with his friend Steve Wozniak. Their vision? To revolutionize personal computing. Apple grew fast, launching groundbreaking products like the Apple II. By 1980, the company went public, and Jobs became a millionaire. It seemed like he was unstoppable. But then, everything began to crumble. In 1983, Jobs brought in John Sculley, an experienced executive from PepsiCo. Jobs famously asked him, "Do you want to sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or do you want to come with me and change the world?" Sculley joined, but their relationship quickly turned sour. Jobs was intense, driven by perfectionism, and his demanding nature often clashed with the company's direction. By 1985, a power struggle broke out. The board sided with Sculley, and the unthinkable happened. Steve Jobs was forced out of his own company. Imagine building something from scratch, only to be told you're no longer needed. Devastated, but not defeated. Jobs didn't give up. Instead, he started two new ventures: Next, a computer company, and Pixar, a struggling animation studio. Next didn't take over the market, but Pixar, that was different. Under Jobs' leadership, Pixar released Toy Story in 1995, the first fully computer-animated film. It became a global sensation. Meanwhile, Apple was crumbling without him. By 1996, the company was on the brink of bankruptcy, and in a twist no one saw coming, Apple acquired Next to save itself. That move brought Steve Jobs back. Within a year, he was CEO again, and this time, he transformed Apple into the powerhouse we know today, launching game-changing products like the iPod, iPhone, and MacBook. Steve Jobs' story is a testament to resilience, rejected by his own company. He didn't walk away. He built something bigger and came back stronger. If rejection had stopped him, we'd live in a world without the innovations that define our lives today. Oprah Winfrey. From fired news anchor to global icon. When you hear the name Oprah Winfrey, you think of success, inspiration, power. But her journey to the top? It wasn't easy. It was built on rejection, pain, and pure determination. Born into poverty in rural Mississippi, Oprah's early life was anything but easy. She faced abuse, instability, and constant judgment. But even as a child, she had something special, a gift for storytelling, a deep connection with people. By her early 20s, she landed a job as a news anchor. It looked like her big break, until it all came crashing down. She was fired. Why? Her boss said she was unfit for television. Too emotional, not the right look, not the right voice. Imagine being told that the very thing that makes you you is the reason you'll never make it. It crushed her, but it didn't stop her. She shifted to hosting a small daytime talk show in Chicago. At first, low ratings, low expectations. Nobody thought it would last. But then, something happened. Oprah connected. Her warmth, her empathy, her truth. It started to shine. Viewers saw themselves in her. They felt heard. They felt seen. And just like that, the Oprah Winfrey Show became a national phenomenon. But Oprah didn't stop there. She used her voice to spark real conversations about healing, growth, mental health, things people weren't talking about on TV. She built an empire, her own production company, a magazine, a network. She became the first black woman billionaire in history, and to think, this is the same woman once told she wasn't good enough for television. Oprah's story is living proof that rejection isn't the end. It's the beginning of something greater. So, what could you achieve if you refuse to give up? Colonel Harlan Sanders, the man who built an empire at 65. What if your big break didn't come at 20 or 30, but at 65? That's the story of Colonel Harlan Sanders, the man behind KFC, and one of the most inspiring comebacks in business history. Born in 1890 in rural Indiana, life hit Sanders hard and early. His father died when he was just 6. By 7, he was cooking for his siblings while his mother worked long hours. School, he dropped out in 7th grade. Career, a wild ride of failures. He was a farmhand, a streetcar conductor, a soldier, even tried law. By age 40, he had worn more hats than most do in a lifetime, and failed at almost all of them. But one thing stuck: he loved to cook. In the 1930s, he ran a small gas station and started serving meals to hungry travelers. His fried chicken, cooked with a secret blend of 11 herbs and spices, was a hit. He opened a restaurant. People loved it. Then the highway moved, and just like that, his business vanished. At 65, Sanders was broke, living off a $105 Social Security check. Most would have called it quits, but not the Colonel. He believed in his recipe. So he packed his pressure cooker, hit the road, and started knocking on doors. Restaurant after restaurant, rejected. Not once, not 10 times, 1,009 times. But then, on try number 1,010, someone said yes. That one yes? It changed everything. By 1964, there were over 600 KFC franchises. Colonel Sanders had built a fried chicken empire at an age when most people are winding down, and even after selling the company, he stayed the face of the brand, in his white suit and black string tie, smiling on buckets around the world. His story is a reminder that it's never too late. Not to try, not to start over, not to dream. So next time you think it's too late for you, remember the Colonel. Sometimes, the best chapters come last. J.K. Rowling, From Rock Bottom to a Literary Legend. Before she was the billionaire behind Harry Potter, before the books, the movies, the fame, J.K. Rowling was a single mother, battling depression, poverty, and rejection. In 1990, on a delayed train from Manchester to London, an idea hit her. A boy wizard who didn't know he was magical. That spark would change the world. But first, it had to save her. Not long after, her mother passed away. Heartbroken, Rowling moved to Portugal to teach English, searching for a fresh start. Instead, she found a short-lived marriage and a newborn daughter she'd raise alone. She returned to the UK with no money, no job, and a head full of stories. Rowling described herself as being as poor as it is possible to be in modern Britain without being homeless. She battled depression, relied on welfare, and wrote in cafes, scribbling chapters while her daughter slept beside her. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was her lifeline, a world she escaped to when her own felt hopeless. But when she sent the manuscript out, publisher after publisher rejected it, 12 times. One even told her, "Don't quit your day job. Children's books don't sell." Can you imagine? Being told to give up when writing was the only thing keeping you going. But Rowling didn't stop. She believed in the magic she created. Finally, one small publisher, Bloomsbury, said yes. Why? Because the CEO's 8-year-old daughter read the first chapter and begged to see more. In 1997, Harry Potter was published, and everything changed. The series went on to sell over 500 million copies. It became movies, theme parks, a cultural phenomenon, a legacy. J.K. Rowling's story is proof that rock bottom can be the start of something magical. So if you're struggling, if you feel invisible, unheard, or unworthy, remember this: all it takes is one yes, one spark, one story, and a belief that your dream is still worth chasing. Thomas Edison, the man who failed 1,000 times, then lit the world before the light bulb, before the fame, before the name. Edison meant genius. There were failures, hundreds of them, maybe even thousands. As a child, Thomas Edison was labeled slow. Teachers gave up on him. He didn't fit their mold. So his mother pulled him out of school and taught him herself. That spark of curiosity, it never went out. Edison grew up chasing problems, asking questions, breaking things just to understand how they worked. His greatest challenge? A simple one: light. Not just a spark or a flicker, but a steady, safe glow that could push back the dark in every home and street. But creating a light bulb wasn't simple. He tried bamboo, he tried platinum, he tried everything. 1,000 attempts, 1,000 failures. Most people would quit. But Edison saw it differently. "I have not failed," he said. "I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That mindset, that fire, was his true invention. In 1879, after years of trial and error, his light bulb finally worked. But that was just the beginning. He didn't stop at invention. He built power stations. He marketed electricity. He turned a glowing filament into a revolution. Today he holds over 1,000 patents. But his greatest legacy isn't in metal or glass. It's in his grit. Thomas Edison proved that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's the path to it. So next time you feel like giving up, when the world feels dark and full of doubt, remember, you might just be one failure away from lighting it up. Howard Schultz, the man who was told no. 217 times and still built Starbucks. Before the Green Mermaid, before the global coffee craze, before Starbucks was a lifestyle, there was a boy growing up in a Brooklyn housing project. His father? A broken man, a truck driver who lost job after job, no health insurance, no hope. Howard Schultz saw it all and knew he wanted more, not just for himself, but for people like his father. He became the first in his family to go to college, paid his way with odd jobs, dreamed big, even when life kept him small. Then one day, working for a kitchen appliance company, he noticed something curious. A little Seattle coffee shop named Starbucks kept buying a ton of coffee makers. He visited. He felt something different. It wasn't just coffee. It was passion, possibility. He joined Starbucks as head of marketing, and then came Italy. In the cafes of Milan, he saw espresso bars alive with energy, conversation, connection. Coffee wasn't a drink, it was a ritual. Howard came back with a vision, turned Starbucks into that. The founders? They said no, flat out. No thanks, we sell beans, not experiences. So he left. He started his own coffee shop, Il Giornale, and then came the rejections. 217 investors said no. Coffee culture won't work here. It's too risky. Nobody needs that. But Howard Schultz kept going. With just 25 investors, he opened his dream, and it worked. In 1987, he bought Starbucks, merged it with Il Giornale, and what came next? A coffee revolution. A place on every corner, where strangers became regulars, and a cup of coffee became an experience. From a Brooklyn boy with nothing to the man who redefined coffee itself. Howard Schultz's story is proof. When the world says no, you don't stop. You start anyway, because one yes can change everything. Rejection is not the end. It's the catalyst for transformation, from Walt Disney's failed beginnings to Howard Schultz's relentless pursuit. These visionaries turned setbacks into stepping stones. They endured heartbreak, skepticism, and countless no's. Yet each rejection only fueled their determination. Steve Jobs reclaimed Apple, stronger than ever. Oprah Winfrey transformed personal pain into global impact. J.K. Rowling's imagination triumphed over despair. Edison's perseverance illuminated the world. And Colonel Sanders? He proved that success knows no age. These stories aren't just tales of resilience. They're lessons in grit and vision. Rejection didn't stop them. It shaped their legacies. So, what's stopping you?